Oh my god, this is like beginner mistake number one when it comes to coloring. When starting this format, I was 100% sure that this was gonna come up very soon. And I was right, to be fair. Welcome back to my second channel, guys. My name is Marcel and it's time for another episode of Art Aid. You've been sending me a lot of artwork via Instagram and we're gonna take a look at them together now. Today's episode deals with a lot of color, so let's strap in for that. And if you have any original artwork that you struggle with, just wait until the end of the episode and I'll tell you how you can get your art to appear in this format. So let's get drawing. Like a sir. Alright, artwork number one. It's a nice anime-styled artwork with a purple background, and they have a very interesting question about drawing special effects. They say, I really like the drawing itself, but I'm struggling with the lighting. I'm sorry I scrolled through so many messages, so I was in a hurry. I thought they were struggling with lightning in this artwork, which is also something you could improve on, so let's take a look at the lightning in this artwork. Okay, now, something that you gotta understand is that pure light is always white. Do not draw it colored, do not draw it dimmed. And yeah, an exception would obviously be something fictional, like a black lightning. That's obviously not a real thing, so we're not counting that. Alright, now let's take a look at lightning in real life. Lightning, in case you did not know yet, is pure light. I mean, just look at how it's basically pure white. It's never the core that's colored. That's very important. So that means if you're drawing lightning, that's exactly how you would do it. You have a white core because light is always white at its core, like we discussed. So you're basically drawing your lightning with pure white first. And then you can add the color you want by creating a layer underneath that and drawing the color underneath with a very soft brush. Pretty easy. And yes, this person wanted to draw a multicolored lightning, so you can also add different colors as well. I just don't think this looks as good as just using one color, but you can also add different colors into the mix if you want. It's your art after all. There are softwares and apps like Adobe Photoshop where you have some automatic layer styles, by the way. Which means you could just draw your lightning or whatever and then just apply the layer style outer glow. That's basically the same effect that we've been drawing, just a lot easier. And before you ask, yes, there's obviously also a way to do this traditionally with pen and paper. If you want to know how you would make this traditionally, well, I've made a short tutorial about it. It's actually pretty easy, so check that one out sometime. Okay, that was a nice warm-up, and while we are at the topic of light and darkness, let's take a look at the next artwork with kind of the same problem. Okay, I know for a fact this one applies to a lot of you guys, so pay attention to this one. Akame says, the pants of my characters are black, right? So I'm having trouble defining them. Like, they just look flat. Yes, exactly. Oh my god, this is like beginner mistake number one when it comes to coloring. When starting this format, I was 100% sure that this was gonna come up very soon. And I was right, to be fair. Just like I said in our previous example, pure white is only reserved for very bright things like pure light. You got that, right? But here's the thing. The same thing also goes for pure black. You rarely see black in a colored artwork. Here's a very easy to understand example artwork that I've pulled up for you. I know this is not something you notice until someone points it out, but professional artworks basically never use pure black. Even the shadows on this artwork are not pure black. They are more of a very dark purple. A lot of things appear black in comparison, but they are most definitely not. I can assure you that. They are always like some very dark gray or a very dark blue, but never pure black. I encourage you to do this with a couple of artworks yourself. You will find that they never contain pure black if you take an actual look at them. There might be some very rare exceptions, but they are very few and far between. And if you guys are confused as to why that is, well, Akama pointed it out themselves. You'll be having trouble defining them, because painting something with pure black just makes everything look flat. And in case you want to have a real-life example to understand this better, just take a look at my shirt here. It might be a black shirt, but you can still see all of the nuances and creases here. Now, let's increase the contrast to some ungodly levels until it's all black, and you're not able to see anything anymore. And that's precisely what you're doing if you use pure black in your artworks. So in case you're drawing something that's supposed to be black, like a jacket or a shirt, maybe try out a very dark gray here instead. That way you will still have some breathing room for drawing a darker shadow, and it allows for a lot more nuances that you could work with. After all, you would still consider this jacket as black, right? So don't be afraid to go a bit lighter with your darker tones. So please keep this in mind. Pure white is only reserved for pure light, and pure black is only reserved for some very rare exceptions in colored artworks. You're better off not using it at all though. Okay, we're just gonna make this whole episode about colored artwork, so here's artwork number 3. This artwork has such a unique style to it. It's got this kind of pop artsy style with that old school comic screen tone and shading and all. And I'm not quite sure if this is actually intentional or not, but my favorite part about the choice of color is the harsh warm and cold contrast between the surrounding areas, which is completely blue, and our protagonist, which has these yellowish orange warm hues to it. There actually wasn't any message attached to it, it was just, here's the artwork, go for it, critique it, or whatever. So let's take a look at a couple of things that you could improve on. Okay, when you're working with something like architecture, or tiles in this case, in your case, having a vanishing point is incredibly important. Drawing this perspective is also pretty easy, it's just a simple 1-point perspective, so you wouldn't even have to use multiple vanishing points with this one. Okay, let's just go ahead and draw these tiles according to my vanishing point here. That's basically a point where all of these lines point to, in case you haven't watched my tutorial on that topic yet. I'll just quickly flat color over these tiles so we can start from scratch. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to draw these tiles according to my vanishing point just now. I think you already have a really good feeling when it comes to color, according to this artwork at least, so I'll just stick with your color choices of shading with a very dark blue. Let's also add some more reflections and highlights to these tiles, just like you did. And that's basically the same drawing, just with a very simple vanishing point applied to it. Comparing mine to the original now, obviously I'm not quite sure if that was a deliberate choice. This whole artwork has this very scribbly, cartoony look to it, so maybe you didn't apply a vanishing point for that reason. Maybe that was on purpose. Not quite sure. I think this works either way. These are all just suggestions on my part. But if I were to change something about that artwork, that's what I would do. Also, maybe the lighting. When I take a look at this artwork, I'm kind of confused as to where the light source actually is. At first glance, it looks like it's coming from above, but the shadow that the head is casting is going off to the side. So maybe that's another thing that I would actually change, but you get the point, right? Anyways, I think this is an awesome artwork. I really like the mood and the colors, but these are some corrections that I happened to spot at first glance. Take it or leave it. Okay, now, before we end this episode, please keep in mind that I'm not sure if we continue this series at all. I love to help you guys out like this, but as you know, I need to pay an editor for these videos, because I'm just plain too busy to also edit these videos myself. This channel here is not monetized, it's not making any money yet, so I really need your support in order to produce and fund more episodes like these. So please like, subscribe, and also comment on these videos. Support these videos as much as you can so that we can keep making them. You can also donate $1 or $2 on Patreon if you want to go the little extra step. Like I said, I'm not keeping that money for me, I just needed to hire people to help me out with editing these. And if you happen to have problems with an artwork of yours, follow me on Instagram. I sometimes post stories where I tell you guys to send me your art. And whenever you see me post a story like this, that's when you know you can send me your art. Here are all episodes on screen in case you missed one. If you're interested, I'm looking forward to see you guys in the next episode of Art Aid. Goodbye.